history professor at Syracuse University. He specializes in U.S. foreign relations and the modern Middle East. He joins us from Syracuse. Good to have you on the program with us. First off, what does this mean, a recalibration? Does this mean a much tougher stance from Washington when it comes to Riyadh than what we saw under the Trump presidency, especially when it comes to human rights issues?
Well, President Biden has promised to return to normalcy. And so, as the press secretary mentioned, this really is a more normal state of affairs in which the president talks to the king, not to the crown prince, and certainly not through a son-in-law or a special envoy. So I think on one level, what we're seeing is that the Biden administration is attempting to reset relations, perhaps pressure Saudi Arabia to end the war in Yemen, as well as some of its broader efforts across the region to destabilize aspects of the region.
You say this is a return to normalcy. So how is the kingdom likely to see this move? Was this something that would have been anticipated?
I doubt that it was anticipated, although there were some signs. I mean, in the sense that Biden has not spoken favorably about the crown prince. And there appears to be, and he's talked about wanting to end the war in Yemen and a couple of other factors that he wanted Saudi Arabia to come on board with. And he's also sought to revisit the sale of weapons, both to Saudi Arabia and the UAE. I think it's important to remember, just in the past 5 years alone, the United States has sold some $64 billion in weapons to Saudi Arabia, many of them used against Yemen, one of the poorest, if not the poorest country in the region. The war in Yemen has had a catastrophic toll in terms of its humanitarian consequences, and it served to create far from what Saudi Arabia promised it would do. In other words, the Houthis were not defeated, and they turned into a viable resistance force. So it's been an absolute disaster, both from a strategic perspective and from a humanitarian perspective. And so I think to Biden's credit, he's trying to bring an end to it. I think it's also important to remember that Biden was vice president when this war started. Obama could have actually prevented this war. President Obama could have prevented this war from actually starting, and he didn't. And of course, President Trump encouraged it to continue as hopes of kind of containing, if not defeating, Iran around the region. So I think there are a number of things that Biden has on the table that he wants to do, including returning to the nuclear program deal with Iran and ending the war in Yemen. And I think kind of curtailing the influence of Mohammed bin Salman is important to all of this. This was bin Salman's war, and it's been an utter disaster, like many of his policies have been.
President Trump made Saudi Arabia his first overseas trip in 2017. When could we likely see Biden have a conversation with the king, or even possibly make a trip to Saudi Arabia?
Well, a trip may not be in the near term. I would suggest that they're more likely for there to be a phone call in the near term. I'm surprised it hasn't happened already, but there may be other factors that are at play there. At the same time, I think in answer to your previous question, if I was a Saudi watcher, if I was within the royal family, I would be quite concerned about bin Salman's status right now. He has not made himself he's not very liked within the royal family. He's made a number of enemies within Saudi Arabia, and this is a definite blow to his status.
All right, Osamah Khalil in Syracuse, thank you for your time.